and welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to share with you how I made these two great bows using our gift bow die from the holiday catalog. You can find this die on page 37 of the catalog, and remember it's one of our steel rule dies, so you can cut other items with it besides cardstock. Let me turn these to the side so that you can see them, our basic bow and our double bow, and I'll show you how to make both of those during this video. So let me set them aside and we'll get started. Okay, I'm ready to get started. I have my designer series paper cut. I've cut this 5.5 by 8 inches long. This is the space that I need to cut in order to cover the entire die. I've now got my first cutting plate. I've set my die on top of that, and then my piece of designer series paper. And remember, the great thing about our steel rule dies is they cut all kinds of material, not just paper. And then finally, the top cutting plate. So now my sandwich is ready to run through the Big Shot. Okay, I've run the designer series paper through the Big Shot, and here's what we have. We have 5 different pieces that the die cuts. The first piece is this long piece. This is our basic bow piece, along with a smaller piece that also makes part of the bow. The center piece, and then these 2 tails. We're going to use all 4 of these pieces that I'm showing you here to create our first basic bow. So let me set the die aside and I'll show you how to assemble it. Okay, assembling bows is a fairly simple process. The first thing you're going to need is a bone folder and some glue dots. And I'm going to take this first longer piece of my bow and I'm going to run my bone folder across both ends. And what I'm doing is simply breaking those fibers so that they're easier to bend. I'm going to place a glue dot on the end of each one of these pieces. Now that I've got my glue dots on, I'm ready to start assembling. I'm going to bend over this first side of the bow and adhere it to the center, and then do the same thing on the other side. That gives me my basic bow shape. I am now going to take my tails and I am going to add a little bit of adhesive to these, placing a glue dot on each side. And at this point I'm going to want to place these on the underside of my bow, just covering up the center piece and adhering them evenly. And then the final piece that I'm going to add is the center piece. And what this does is it covers all of your pieces so that they're nice and neat and that they stay together and nothing comes apart. So I'm going to flip that bow back over. I'm going to line that center piece up, press down on my glue dot, turn it over, and then finish wrapping it around my die. Or I'm sorry, the designer series paper. And that is my basic bow. It's quick and simple, and they're a lot of fun to make. Once you get started, you're going to have a good time making all kinds of bows. So let me show you the double bow. Okay, to make the double bow, I've run my designer series paper through the Big Shot again. And this time I've run it through a second time with a piece of designer series paper covering the smaller bow area. So I have 2 of those. So let me show you how we get started with that. Once again, I'm going to break my fibers using my bone folder on this big piece. And this time I'm also going to do these 2 little pieces. Okay, now that I've got that done, I'm going to build the bow just like I did on the basic bow. I'm going to put a glue dot on each end here of my big bow, and I am going to fold that in on itself and adhere it. And then I'm going to do the same process with this little bow by adding a glue dot and adhering it together. And once again on this second piece. So now I have my 2 small pieces put together on my 1 big piece, and I'm ready to assemble. Back to the glue dots, and I'm going to take these smaller bows pieces, the individual, and place a glue dot on each end of them. Now I'm going to take these and I'm going to line them up with the center and adhere them down. Now that I've had those 2 adhere down in the center, I'm going to move this one slightly farther in. Didn't quite do that far enough because I want to see this larger bow also. Now that I have those adhered, I'm going to adhere my tails to it. So I'm going to take a glue dot and put it on each side of that. And once again, I am going to put that on the bottom and out to the side. I find doing this upside down works a little easier for me. That way you can see what you're doing. Okay, now that I've got those layered with my glue dots, I'm going back to the center piece and once again adding a glue dot on each end, adhering this to the back center, and then wrapping it around and adhering to the back glue dot. And there is my double bow. So my single bow and then my double bow. Two quick and easy bows that you can create with this gift bow die. If you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. It's open 24/7 and you can get there from my blog, www.stampwithjini.com. Thanks for joining me.